in a bit.
A storm is a brewing, Sowerz, here on EGL Central. TCM warming up right now on the main stage for a matchup to meet all matchups. Orbit playing so well in that last game there. Of course, it was very tight. Tech Impulse taking it to the final map, but that S&D there definitely going the way of Orbit. What are your thoughts?
Really
you watched
strong,
the whole thing.
Really strong. Yeah. I mean, Orbit, we played Orbit a bit ago, and they're kind of like an up-and-coming team. Nobody really expected him to like get top 8 even, really. So I'm kind of really pleased for Steve because he's been around for a long time. He's a good guy, and he's kind of needed like a bit of a break, really. He's been trying to get back into the top teams, and he's really shown like this event what he can do. Going into it, I'd say TCM are the favourites. I mean, they showed against Epsilon what they can do.
Oh, definitely.
But they've just got to not underestimate Orbit because they're a really strong team, especially S&D. When we played them, they locked us down on S&D. So I think the first map's going to be a massive key as to who's going to win. I
mean, a lot of the top players will probably agree that if you get dropped into the losers bracket, if you get into that spot pretty early on, like Orbit have, it means that you get to just use the momentum to carry through. TCM haven't played in a while, so that could work in Orbit's favor. Continuing on, just obviously with Tech Impulse going out there, they did play really strong in that, and Bish there had a lot of plans for that team. Who stood out for you?
I think they're all very good players. We played them in the group stage, and Alexi played really well on S&D. It seems like his best game type, to be honest, but I think they're just one of those teams that, because Black Ops 2 is such a hype game, if you lose a game type, if you're the kind of team that doesn't keep your head up, you're going to lose. Like
momentum.
Exactly. And I think they're one of those teams that, kind of similar to us, we were hyped yesterday, we were playing so well, came in today, started slow. I think they're that kind of team as well. If they'd have got a bit more hyped, I think they might have finished it off on the respawns, but they're a good team, and they shouldn't be too disappointed. Top 6 is still a good result. Some strong teams there.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens to the weather. Of course, here in the UK, we're expecting basically a hurricane. So people are trying to make sure they get their trains. A lot of trains canceled and so on. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with travel arrangements. But you have to figure that that's going to be playing on perhaps some of the players' minds who have to get home kind of the next day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously a lot of them will be trying to focus right on the game, like the coaches and managers are saying, look, forget about all the stuff out of the game. Just focus on this right now. Just focus on getting the first map done. You can't really think, when you're playing Call of Duty, think about things like, oh, we need to win, we need to come first. You just take it map by map, round by round, and see how it goes.
I think that's where the power of being in a big org, TCM, Infuse, and so on. When you've got management there, people helping you out with arrangements and so on. If you do get stuck, I remember a few years ago with one of the British Halo teams, Power Gaming. When we had the volcano in Iceland go off, and they were over in the States after an MLG event, stuck there for a month because there's no air travel in the UK for pretty much the month of June, I think it was. And Power Gaming sorted them out. Obviously, the storm is probably not going to lead to any of the players being stuck in the Trocadero for a month. But you know what? Like, situations like that do arise, and it does affect the players. S&D, let's talk about that. We just saw that final map there with Orbit winning. Epsilon have played incredible S&D so far.
Yeah, I mean, Epsilon, for me, that's probably their best game type. I spoke to them before, and they said that they just feel like their S&D is like on point, and S&D is such a big game type because if you lose the first map and you get the S&D and you're so good at S&D that you can just know you got that S&D in the bag and you can bring it back to 1-1, especially when it goes to the last map. Like a lot of games this weekend, they're going to the last map, and if you've got the confidence going to S&D, it's absolutely massive. Like we said, Black Ops 2 is like almost completely about hype, about confidence in your own team, and Epsilon right now, they've dropped a few hard points, which probably they'll try and improve on, but their S&D is so strong, I can't see anybody beating them unless they step up on their S&D. It's definitely one of the biggest game types in Black Ops 2, kind of similar to Modern Warfare 3, really. Like when we saw Optic dominate, they were just so good at S&D. Teams had to be consistent to beat them, and I think if anybody's going to beat Epsilon, they're going to have to take an S&D, there's no doubt about it.
Well, TCM, the boys who beat, of course, that Optic lineup last year are waiting to play right now against Orbit. With TCM, what do you think that they're going to have to do in order to pull this out? Because basically, from my understanding, they were hugely confident going into Gfinity, and obviously things did not work out anywhere close to what they were anticipating. They're going over to MLG, so this tournament is actually incredibly important for them in particular, just because of that trip.
Yeah, I mean, TCM obviously going MLG, it's a new game, so, really this event for them is probably more just, we want to finish it really well. When they lost Monksy at G1, Monksy brought a lot of hype to that team, and they'd been together for a long time. They picked up Moose, who everybody knows is a very capable player, but sometimes things don't mix on certain teams. They're using a pickup as well in Kyle this weekend, which isn't going to help as well. But from what I've heard, they've been playing pretty solid. They've had a few, unlucky maps maybe here and there. I ain't seen them too much this weekend, but I think, they're once again, like I say, any team really, if they get on a hype, if they get, you know, the winning mentality going into games, they can beat anybody, and we've seen that like throughout Black Ops 2, probably the most upsets we've seen out of any LAN event. So it's a hard one to call, but I think it's going to go down to who takes the first map. I think Hardpoint, they'll go into S&D with the confidence to like rush and use all their rushes. What seems to happen is that at Hardpoint, if a team loses it, they'll go into S&D and they'll play too cautious, and usually that's, you know, what decides the games.
Of course, you can tweet for us hashtag EGL11. Who's been the biggest disappointment this weekend? I'm not going to ask you about that right now. I'm not going to put you on the spot like that. But you did mention Kyle and TCM.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pickups here, and a lot of the teams with pickups are doing really well. We've got Infused, of course, with Tommy. Tommy, the last 2 events, has been, you know, one of easily the top, if not the standout player.
Yeah, with Millennium. Yeah, I mean, like you said, the thing with Black Ops 2, pickup teams have been doing well because Hardpoint's one of those game types everybody knows how to play it. So if you're all on the same page and you know you're all, you know, switched on, communicating well, all aware of what you need to do, any team can kind of really gel. I mean, you look at some teams who might practice a lot online and then come to LAN and they kind of choke. The mentality's not there. They don't remember what they're doing. But, you know, when people have pickup teams, the pressure's not there. You know, they can go into the game knowing that if they don't win, it doesn't really matter. You know, they're just here to play the game, and maybe that's kind of helping TCM. I don't know, but. Like you say, pickup teams seem to be doing well, and there's quite a few here this weekend. I mean, our team, you know, we didn't do as well as we wanted to, but, you know, we're not a solid team for Ghosts. So, I mean, pickup teams, at the end of the day, it's not going to be beneficial to have a pickup, but it doesn't mean you can't win. Yeah,
of course. I mean, like, if you have a mixed lineup, you know, you guys just get together. Yourself, Momo was another player who kind of wasn't really anticipating. He was going to cast, actually, in the event. That's why I'm here right now. But, you know, he ended up fronting a team. He was, you know, saying that his role that he was playing this weekend really wasn't what he's used to, which is anchor. But yeah, let's move into Infused and that lineup right now. You're talking about Tommy. Is there anyone else in there who you think is going to be really switched on moving into the losers bracket final?
I think they're all very strong players. You look at Josh, brings a lot of communication, motivation, which on this game is absolutely huge. Everybody knows that. That's what he brings to this team. Vintage, I teamed with back on COD 4, one of the best players I'd ever played with on COD 4, and we had a lot of success together. So when he came back, I knew that given the right opportunities, he'd get back into a top team, and he's proved that. He's had some really good results on this game. So, I mean, taking a 2-year break is a long time. Things have moved on so much from COD 4. You know, back when we were like at EGL events, we didn't have these rotations, all these things. It was just, oh yeah, get your game on, choose your classes, play the game. And for Vintage to kind of come back after 2 years and have the knowledge and gameplay that he has right now is, for me, unbelievable. I think in another year he'll be even better player. Tommy obviously has proved himself. You know, he's picked up from many teams and always performed. And then you've got Jake, who he's had a bit of a rough time, you know, getting dropped from Prophecy. But I think he's always proved that individually he's got the capability to kind of win a team a map. We saw him against Epsilon, dropping like a 40 bomb. Okay, his team didn't win, but you know, shown a lot of potential to really kind of like carry his team through if he needs to.
And obviously with EGL10 and winning that championship, the man's you know, kind of used to the spotlight almost. Let's talk a bit about what you were just saying about, you know, 2-year break and players and veterans and so on, because a lot of people have been talking over the weekend about, you know, what's the direction of Call of Duty and so on, and it's growing and it's getting bigger and bigger, and you know, last year really there was only EGL. This year we've got MLG, Gfinity's obviously putting on a pretty unique format, which is interesting. And then of course EGL's ran 3 events this year. But there's, you know, so many veteran players are sticking to games. Like you're saying about yourself from XL. These, you know, we're talking about 4 or 5 years ago.
Long time ago.
You know, like a lot of you, myself, you, Chris Marshall, you know, a lot of the EGL guys. You got Mac, Toby. You know, maybe guys who aren't at the top of the game anymore, but still they're still here and they're still playing. So something's keeping them attracted. Yeah,
I mean, like you say, you know, there's not many players now. You can count on your hands how many players there was from the very start. And the scene has changed so much from the very start, and a lot of new players have come through, and it's just a matter of them getting the right opportunities. I mean, people kind of say, how do you get into top teams? You know, how do we break into the top teams? Do we jump ship, try and take better offers? And I mean, I always say to people, look, you know, you get a team together that you enjoy playing with, friends. You know, I've started with my brother and some friends, and we just stuck together for a good year and a half, and we improved, and we got to the top doing that. I think a lot of people try and see, oh, can I join a better team, rather than working on their current team, trying to improve it. But like you say, a lot of veterans still around today who kind of have kept motivated, because Call of Duty is definitely growing, like you say, you know, and people, you know, want to be there for when it really does get big, and hopefully next year can be even more successful.
Well, it's going to be interesting, obviously, Call of Duty, the way that it switches developers and so on. We're going to see a lot of the things that people like about this title, be it things like Codcaster. perhaps be completely altered or, not really exist in the same way. And then you have the hope that the game will be better than what it is right now. Because I think with this event, in Gfinity and so on, like the MLG and so on, the viewership is amazing and the games are growing. But you can kind of tell that people are a bit tired. And they're really anticipating Ghosts.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, you ask all the top players and they'll say Call of Duty Ghosts, for me, without Hardpoint, would be a pretty tough game to play like day in, day out. Hardpoint is by far, in my opinion, the best game type we've ever seen. It requires so much teamwork, gun skill, everything. If you're not on point, that's why it's such a hype game type. If you're not on point and 100%, it's not going to work out for you. But like we say, Black Ops 2 is kind of a bit dodgy online and LAN. Everybody will say, it's a bit, one moment your bullet's red straight away, the next moment nothing happens. But what we can't say is that Treyarch haven't tried to support our team. They've done so much for us. We've got to thank them, that we've grown over this last year. More so in America rather than the UK, but things are still looking on the up. And, hopefully Ghosts will live up to the hype. It's an Infinity War title, which usually plays better on LAN, if you ask most players. And there'll be some new game types as well, so it'll be something fresh that we've never seen before. No CTF, no Hardpoint, which some people might say, oh, it's a shame, because Hardpoint's a great game type, so CTF always has been. But hopefully there'll be some good game types and a lot of good gameplay.
All right. Word on the street is that we are ready to go with the next matchup. Will the swap from a Treyarch game into an Infinity Ward game have any bearing on the top players?
Not at all, because there's been 4 Call of Duty titles now that we've played competitively, I believe, and almost every single top player has been at the top because Call of Duty is pure knowledge. So
I'm being told I have to fill still.
I know, I had to stop there.
Yeah. People watching at home, you're gonna like this. Optic passed it. Yes, no?
No, not at all. No. You can't say that. I mean, I think a lot of the American teams are kind of setting up for Ghosts now. There's no point in a team making a team for, oh yeah, let's go win the last Black Ops 2 LAN. Everyone's looking to the future. So nobody's going to be taking it too serious. They've all shown that they're all capable. They're going to get hit. They always get hit because Optic are one of the biggest team in Call of Duty out there. So they're always going to get the haters, but they all have a lot of fans as well. And I think they've all shown, especially Scumpy is still one of the top players. Anybody who actually watches their games will see that they've got the potential. They went to the MLG event, the invite-only tournament the other week, I think, and they really showed. Yeah, that's the one. They really showed what they were capable of. I think once they get a bit more confidence together, a bit more game time, and obviously going to Ghost, a new leaf of motivation. People saying that, oh, Optic, they're not hungry for it anymore, But people don't know, You hear a lot of stories about your own teams, like, oh, this and that, but 95% of things you hear aren't true. And I think, from what I've seen, Optic, they'll be as hungry as ever going into Ghost, and I think they'll do pretty well. I
mean, we're talking about the fan base and so on. You've got haters. You got a huge, way more people absolutely love the lineup. Yep. And, big reason, and it's something that UK players and, British players and not so many, French players do it, but is Twitch and live streaming and not just playing Call of Duty, playing, things like Minecraft and so on. Exactly. I actually watch.
Yeah. Because people watch for the personality.
Yeah, exactly.
There's more to it
they're nice guys.
Exactly,
they're nice guys.
You look at like footballers or anything in sport, like there's some players who aren't the best, but the personalities make them a big person. And, Optic, they're good players, but they've also, got the personalities there. And like you say, Twitch and things like that, I do it myself quite a bit. I try and play with viewers and interact. A lot of the UK players do it. And it's definitely a big part of COD, trying to kind of show these new players what it's all about, educating people. I think that's what Optic have really done, like mid. I think they're the key to the NA scene. They've really introduced a lot of new players and made it big over there. And that's kind of what we lacked in the UK. We've just had competitive players, but nobody who can bring the public side of things over, show them, like, the way forward. But, like I said, Optic have done a lot of good for the scene, and people kind of forget that.
Now we're going to move back to, the team that's moving onto the stage that we just saw play. 3-2, Orbit Blueprint, the Beat Tech Impulse. With Orbit, are you surprised that they're here?
I am surprised. If you said to me before the event, I'd probably said, come on. But I know Steve well, who's one of the main players in that team called Mohawk, and I'm pleased for him. Like I said, you can't take a word of somebody else about how good a team is. You've got to go to an event and watch them yourself, and they've definitely proved themselves. They're a top team. There's no doubt about it. And I think if TCM underestimate them, they can definitely cause an upset. I
think people, Mohawk is definitely kind of slipped under the radar because the guy has been a very successful Call of Duty player in the UK.
Yeah.
He's been to a lot of events. He's had a lot of success. Success doesn't mean you have to win events.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that. And then you look at the top players, it's, always kind of the same 8 guys, 9 guys that you were saying before, different lineups and so on.
Yeah.
And, Mohawk, obviously a player that's made a difference for that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to a few players over there about Steve, that he's been around for a long time. He was with TCM, had some really good results, but he had kind of had a bit of a rough patch. He left the team, joined a team that you would say maybe was below his expectations in terms of placements. And when a player does that and they get a few bad placements, nobody's watching your games, nobody's seen, you know, how good you're playing, and it kind of lowers your standards. I think that's the problem with Steve, is he's jumped into a team, you know, a couple of years ago, which he probably regrets. I've not really asked him about it, but if he'd have waited around a few more weeks for a team that, you know, was more on his level, he would have, you know, had more success in the past. And I think this team, he can really show himself that he's actually still a top player, and he's definitely shown it this weekend. I've seen him against Refuse It Was, where he went absolutely huge on the hard point, which made it to go to the last map, which they ended up winning.
Yeah.
He went absolutely huge, going on like a 10-kill streak, I think. So he's definitely proved himself this weekend and proved any doubt was wrong.
One thing that's been kind of, obviously I produced a lot of the stream, and you're seeing the fact that kill streaks, we're not actually seeing, like, they're obviously part of the game and they're there, but we're actually not seeing, you know, huge tactical usage of them really with this event so far.
Yeah, because well, people will know who are on the I helped with the rules at the start, and I got a lot of hate. Everybody got a lot of hate on the rules council about bringing score streaks in, but to move forward, it's a small sacrifice. Like you say, score streaks, you have to work from them as a team. People have adapted. You ask all the top players today, and would they say, oh, is score streaks a massive factor in whether a team wins or not? It's not, you know. It's not as bad as people would say, especially on hardpoint, no respawn delay. If you're controlling spawns and you survive, you know, if it kills 1 or 2 people, a score streak, it's not game-changing. It's usually 3 or 4.
But there are a few maps, though, where
CTF especially. CTF, and if a team gets score streaks,
especially towards the end, you know, especially if you're behind on a flag or something, you can manage to just forget about trying to cap a flag, work for score streaks, give yourself, you know, a way to get yourself back in the game.
There's no doubt it's a new dynamic that is. Because, you know, in past Call of Duty, it was just play the game, rotate or whatever. Well, not rotate, it's a hard point, but it's definitely added something new. People now play for score streaks, play more defensive, and I mean, you can be behind by 100 points, but if 2 hills, like, for example, Slums, the 3rd and 4th hard point, which are kind of connected, it's like 1 hill, essentially. If you get streaks building up to that and you're 100 points behind, you can be straight back in it.
And it helps with spawn. Like, you can totally change a spawn on a map like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Using it, you know, and when I think players forget that with the developers and so on, you know, the developers have a direction, especially right now, you know, with the growth of esports and competitive gaming. It's, you know, much more on the radar. And we saw that with, you know, Activision this year, bringing back the, COD champs and so on.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, rumors are that they were kind of disappointed with kind of how Europe was taking the game compared to the Americans. The Americans were just, like, open to anything, really.
Yeah, I talked to a few of them, actually, like, because you know, they really want to get a global rule set, and it did take a long time because I think the UK scene is more, you know, the Deserters community was really hardcore competitive. Hang on, you know, if this isn't skillful, we're not using it, kind of thing. And that's why it was so tough to break score streaks into the rule sets. We kind of did it slowly, kind of introduced people to new things. And obviously America are a lot more open to it. I don't know what the reasons are for that. I think it's just because Deserter was such a hardcore competitive, you know, website.
You have to think of it from the point of view that in terms of, like, the competition, you know, England in particular is quite far ahead than any other country when it comes to Call of Duty.
In Europe,
yeah. You know what I mean? Like, with just the sheer number of events over the last several years.
Oh, yeah, there's been a lot of great events, yeah, and I think with the UK scene, like you said, XL was like one of the first, you know, ever events like that was based on Call of Duty, and it's obviously going to attract the UK teams. And Deserter kind of really was built around the UK teams at the start, and obviously that's kind of supported EGL, especially at the start. You know, Call of Duty has been one of the main games for EGL since Halo kind of died off. And, you know, with these UK events, it's definitely allowed more teams to kind of go to events, kind of try it out, and think, hey, you know, I like this, I'm going to continue playing it. You never really speak to players who go to the first land and say, oh, I wish I didn't go, you know. Most players say, it was really good meeting all these people, you know, and playing Call of Duty. So I think in the UK, we've been fortunate to have so many events. Like you said, there's not been that many in other countries, but France have definitely started to get a lot more. Skyline.
That community has exploded.
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of thanks to Gottaga. And that's another key example. Like
but YouTube
exactly.
and Twitch.
He's brought a lot of public players into it, and you can see now, you look at all the other French players, and they've grown. You know, they're on thousands of followers, you know, whereas they weren't before. The UK players were bigger, but that's what I mean. I think in the UK, we just needed that break. Like, we need a break where, you know, public players become more aware about it, because I think in the NA, France, and especially Spain as well. Spain's a huge community as well.
Well, I mean, when we had the Spanish team, Excello.
Oh, yeah, this weekend.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they used to be called Wizards.
Wizards, yes. So that lineup is Spaniards, and I think there's a couple
I can't remember what the name is this weekend. I'm sure somebody can get it for us, but yeah, it's with Epico. Epico's in the team.
Yes.
I know that. So if any of you guys who are Spanish and understand English, then you'll know that team. They've been around for a long time. You know, we scrimmed them back in my old teams on Black Ops 2 with Epsilon and Unite, and they've always been around. They've been like regarded the second best team just behind Giants. They just missed out on quad championships, but I believe they placed 5th, 6th this weekend, or 7th, 8th, joint with us maybe.
Yeah.
So they'll be pretty pleased with that, no doubt about it. And
of course. Well, I mean, they came in like 50th seed basically.
Yeah.
And
so
they walk away with 8th place, so that's
they'll be
great
pretty
for them.
pleased with that, definitely. I mean, you know, they came in with no expectations. People were predicting them to come top 8, so to come top 8 is a really good result.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for joining me.
No worries,
we are
man.
ready to go here with another Losers Bracket game. It's TCM versus Orbit Blueprint here at EGL11. It's the 2013 Winter Championships brought to you by Mad Catz. Now, we are going to join our 2 commentators for the matchup. We've got riddles, but first, here is Mr. Bryce.